Hello and welcome to the No Gimmies podcast. I am your host, Evan Cook. Aaron, can I tell you about something I did that just really upset me just now before we got on here?
Not that I'm one to want to indulge in anybody's misery, particularly my friends,
Oh,
but sure, if it allows for you to alleviate, if there's some catharsis, maybe there's a lesson involved, whatever. Let's go.
no, I just did that thing where I knew I was going to work out after my job and I was going to go play basketball and I left my health tracker ring on the charger and it recorded none of that. So basically, did I even work out?
Yeah, doesn't even count.
Yeah, does it even count as a
Yeah,
as like a gym run if you don't get it recorded on your apps?
if
I
a
feel like I
person
really
works out in the gym and it's not even a metric, does it count? I think that's
yeah,
the new one, right? Like that's the new
yeah,
bear shit in
that's
the
the new
woods
tree
or
falls in
whatever.
the woods. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
I am
You
joined
said
as
tree
always.
falls. I like how the colloquialism I had was far less what tells you about like what environment I grew up in. But anyways, love you, mom.
I am joined by my co-host Aaron Bullwinkle, the always positive, even when he's negative. He's the most positive negative person I've ever met in my entire life. Aaron, how you doing, bud?
Good. I'll be honest with you. That is one of the more flattering things somebody has ever said to me, especially because like lately I've been a little bit more mired in some negativity, not for any reason. Fall kind of brings that upon me.
Well, I'm
So
a
I
fall weather
appreciate
slut, so
what's that?
I'm a fall weather slut. So
I
I
love the fall weather, but there's some seasonal affective thing that happens. And my phrasing is whenever it's autumn, I fall because I have like this emotional kind of setback that happens every year. And it's funny because my wife has even come to recognize it, where she was the one that pointed it out first. I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of always awkwardly down during this time. And so I'm through that. I'm a little bit more aerodynamic. I didn't have to wear headsets today, so I feel free. Like, let's
Yeah,
go.
I gave myself a haircut. I'm feeling pretty fresh myself.
All right.
Oh
Two
yeah,
fresh dudes. That's the alternative podcast name if no gimmies doesn't work out.
two fresh cuts, man.
Yeah.
Come catch a fade with Aaron and Evan.
Two fresh fades.
Two fresh fades is good, man. I will rock with that.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're already starting off on a tangent. Uh, well, there's a lot to get to. There's been plenty since the last time we recorded, but the big news is somehow, and I don't know how many times this has happened in the history of the NBA. A GM was fired before any coach was fired this season. Nico Harrison got the axe by Patrick Dumont, the Dumont family, the owners of the Mavericks, and the ones who co-signed off on the trade of Luka Doncic, the disastrous trade that has left the Dallas Mavericks fans, their players, the organization in such disarray that it might be a couple of years before they crawl back out of this hole. I know they have Cooper Flag. That is a great way to kind of try to put a band-aid on that bullet hole. But watching what Luka is doing in Los Angeles and then having to watch the on-court product that the Dallas Mavericks are currently putting out, it's so bad that they fired the GM before the coach because there's no way that they could find a way to blame this on Jason Kidd. He has been dealt a terrible hand. He's played it worse, and yet still the blame was always going to fall on Nico Harrison because he owned this trade. He masterminded it, if you can call it that. That's a
Yeah, I
very
was gonna say
loose,
Mastermind does
he he loose brained it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He
What's
he
the opposite of
freestyled it.
master? He novice minded it,
Yeah,
which
I'm not sure. Yeah, the disaster class, I believe, is a word that you and I came up with last year.
yeah,
Instead of master class, disaster class. I think
yeah.
that's the that's the appropriate term for what's happened. Like I said, there's a lot to like about this Dallas Mavericks team, but the for the particular pieces, there's players that a lot of teams would covet if they decided to tear it down and start fresh and build back up through the draft around Cooper Flag, who, by the way, is still 18 years old. He has plenty of time to develop into the player that he's going to be. The expectations that were put on him were very unfair to start the season. He hasn't lived up to any of them, and that's not his fault. Aaron, we all heard the news was coming. Nico Harrison heard the news was coming before he was actually officially fired by the Dallas Mavericks. What was your instant reaction?
I mean, the instant reaction to it for me was really kind of oddly. I'm like, this is sort of low key a terrible decision by the Mavericks as well. Because if you were feeling this, it's so early in the year, and this roster is so badly and poorly constructed. Whoever you're bringing in is going to be automatically put in a terrible situation. Like, and I understand that the thought was probably, well, Nico's doing this. Let's see what this looks like. And obviously, it looked terrible early. But I also don't really understand. There's not a pivot here right now, and maybe the thought is Nico was doing such an awful job, and look, that's what's here, that we have to do something immediate. But what it really reeks of to me is that Nico is being scapegoated is not the right term, because once again, Nico owned this. This was all about him. But the
Yes.
problem that I have with the reality of this is Patrick Dumont trying to act like he, of course, didn't sign off on it. And as though
That's the
Nico
most
was
annoying
working.
part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This whole kind of posturing like Nico was functioning unilaterally, which here's two things. One, if he was, then Patrick Dumont, what the hell are you doing? What is the point of you being in this role as president of basketball operations, or whatever his title is with the Mavericks? I'm not going to look it up right now, um, but and then the other side is, then if he wasn't doing that, then you're completely scapegoating him in a way. And I get it. Patrick Dumont is a guy that's providing himself coverage from the fan base. And at the end of the day, this is what it was about. Obviously, like, Nico became such a tainted product and the Mavericks such a bad on-floor product that they had to figure out a way to give the fan base some kind of good faith action. And firing Nico is that. And I get it from that standpoint, but it just feels, from Nico's hiring to this point, every step along the way, separate of that one period of success in 24, which is not insignificant, but also Nico doesn't really get to own all of that. Like, they had obviously built to that. So separate of that, it's just like this has been ham-fisted and terribly handled by all involved parties. And Nico's the one who takes the fall, and justifiably so in some ways, but also it can't just be Nico that we're looking at in this conversation, I think, is kind of my ultimate point there.
Well, owners don't get fired. That's the part that really, people are like, oh, well, the owner's got to go. That's not how that works. They have to do something very egregious for that to happen. So everything is going to roll downhill from them, and you're not firing the family's son. If you, like you said, if Patrick Dumont is the
Yeah.
head of basketball operations, he's not going anywhere. He's part of the family. His name is on the masthead. So Nico is first. Jason Kidd will be next if this continues its downward spiral. But we need to backtrack a little bit, because before the Luka Doncic trade, I thought Nico Harrison was doing a fantastic job at roster building around him with the Dallas Mavericks. The trade for Daniel Gafford was a great one. The trade for Kyrie Irving, well, it was done a little bit before him, but
Yeah.
he did, do the re-sign to keep him there. People were wondering if the two ball dominant guard things was going to work. Bringing in PJ Washington, getting Derek Lively, all of these things were really good moves. They made it to the NBA Finals.
Yes.
And now
And you and I, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I just don't want to rehash the whole Luka thing. We all know it was dumb. It was dumb when it happened. It was dumb. It's dumb now. It was never a smart move. It was never a smart move not to shop that to anybody else, to make some secret handshake deal. And, I'm not going to put a tinfoil hat on around you. I know what what you think about this. It was dumb all around. Everyone's aware of that. This was never, you don't close your title window you don't trade young for old. That is a very general basic rule that GMs know in the NBA. That's why Jaylen Brown didn't get traded for Kevin Durant. Yeah, you probably had an immediate upgrade in the immediate future, but you don't make a trade like that because Jaylen Brown's so much younger than Kevin Durant. You don't make a trade where you have a generational superstar entering the prime of his life. Even if he wasn't in the best shape, he is still 27 when he was traded. So you don't trade a guy like that. It does, or maybe he's 27 now. So he was 26 when he was
traded. Yeah, I think it was 26 when he got traded.
Yeah, if you traded him for a 32-year-old injury-prone guy, and I don't care how good of a player Anthony Davis is, the conversation around him has always been hypothetical. If Anthony Davis is healthy, he's a top, 15 player in the league. If Anthony Davis is healthy, he's a defensive player of the year nominee.
It's not hypothetical as much as it's conditional, right? And that's kind of the problem with it. Well, and I want to kind of clarify. Go ahead. I want to clarify.
I was just going to say one last thing. It's just like, if you could get 60 games out of Anthony Davis, he's worth it. but you don't get 60 games out of Anthony Davis. And even then, it's $1 million a game. You're paying him $60 million over the next 3 years. And a guy who couldn't stay healthy in his 20s and early 30s, you think he's going to age well? That's
Yeah.
never going to happen. So we don't need to rehash the trade, but we need to rehash the circumstances around that because ownership signed off, just like you said. This is not one man didn't go rogue and trade the franchise player. And you're telling me that the team doesn't know the financial implications of trading a player like Luka Doncic. They don't have people that say, this is how much he drives up our marketing. This is how much he drives up our attendance. This is how much he drives up our ticket sales. This is how much he drives up our merchandising. They know all of this and they still traded him. I believe somebody posted a story that said that they would lose $1 billion about this trade over the course of Luka's career.
I think it was 1.5.
1.5 billion. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to cut
Now,
you off.
obviously, those are guesstimates. I wanted to clarify and correct. One, Nico was the president of basketball operations, but obviously Patrick Dumont has been out in front and saying plenty of things. And so that's first. Michael Finley's taken on that role. The second, you're completely right, because we had gone on here and lauded Nico Harrison for the moves that he had made. What my issue is with that, and even though it's a little bit hindsight being 2020, is those moves were made and lauded around the concept of building around Luka Doncic, right?
Yes.
And the problem with the entirety of what he did is you're talking about the trading young for old. You're 100% correct. More importantly, you made all those deals to build around Luka and gave away all your draft equity. So then you traded into a situation where not only are you worse, but now you don't, they have to be bad this year because they don't own their first round pick again until 2029. So not only it made no sense to anybody how you got no draft equity of substance. You got the one pick, which is the 2029 Lakers pick in this deal, and got nothing else out of it. And it's just every step of it. The biggest problem with Nico Harrison, of course, has been kind of this concept of this I know better, and the arrogance that comes along with it. There was a good article in The Athletic today that really outlined that, written by Joe Varden, and I can't remember the other authors, so I apologize. But they were detailing a lot of the things that we had already heard. And it's really interesting that today, of all days, Steph Curry is now up for a new, he's no longer being held in his sponsorship with Under Armour. And for those that remember, Nico Harrison's original sin was fumbling the bag with Steph Curry and Nike because he couldn't get Stephen Curry's name right. He kept calling him Stephon like he was Urkel's alternative fucking ego. Like, this thing has been this repetitious thing with Nico, and it's not surprising from that standpoint, but the organization pinning everything on him is disingenuous and it's false, and that's bothersome. The bigger thing now is going.
I just want to bring up one more thing about the pitch to Steph Curry. My other favorite detail in that was that they flipped to one of the slides and it had Kevin Durant's name on it, which meant that they reused the same pitch to Kevin Durant, but just put Steph's name on it. But not about a certain slide. Incredible stuff. I just want to bring that up.
Attention to detail has apparently never been his greatest strong point. We can kind of put a bow on it because there's not a lot more to say. Obviously, like you said, we know where I stand with the conspiracy thing. I wholeheartedly believe that Nico will find a job with the league within the next couple of years, just conveniently. I've floated that out there because I want to be on record because I think that's the case. The bigger issue now is, what does Dallas do? Michael Finley and Mike Riccardi, I believe is the guy's name, are now in charge, but they take over a terrible situation because trying to deal Anthony Davis, he's a deflated asset. He does still have value out there, but because of the contract and the injury concerns, I don't know what you can get back there. And then some of those other guys, it's like, yeah, you can probably get something nice for a couple of people like PJ Washington and Derek Lively. Daniel Gafford, I don't know what you get for him because
it's hanging on to Gafford. I think Lively's the trade chip.
Yeah, and all of those guys have the same injury concerns and issues. Like, this is just, it's a really messed up and untenable situation. It's like, how quickly this changed from how we felt about this a year ago to now really tells you we knew the ripple effects of the Luka deal were going to be profound and intense. I don't know that we thought that the flip around to all of this, everything dissolving and falling apart in Dallas, was going to look this bad this fast, especially with the Cooper Flag thing.
Yeah.
But Nico doubled down, right? Like, he built a roster that made no sense this summer. He stuck J Kidd without any guards, and I think Jason Kidd was pissed off. And that's part of what we were seeing with some of the lineup stuff too. Is like, you're not going to give me a guard, then I'm not going to put this team in the best situation to win. I don't know that that's true, but the on-court results and some of the lineup stuff, the playing Andrew Nembhard more than D'Angelo Russell in like their first game, stuff like that, or not, not Andrew Nembhard, Ryan Nembhard, playing him more minutes than D'Angelo Russell. Those things felt like they were shot kind of like passive-aggressive shots across the bow from J Kidd, who also got an extension this summer. So J Kidd's good. Like, he's golden. He's got 5 years apparently left.
Nobody's blaming Jason Kidd for this. And that man literally is bulletproof for this entire season. Yeah. No matter how it ends.
And Jason Kidd's face during the press conference when they were talking about the trade told us everything we ever needed to know about the deal.
He looked like a North Korean hostage.
Yeah. Just saying everything's okay, I'm fine.
Blinking Morse code.
Yeah, blink twice to let me know you're not okay. Like,
yeah, he was in hell. Just one last thing, and then we can move on. You brought it up and about Michael Finley. So Nico Harrison fell into the tyrant trap, which is what happens when you believe yourself to be infallible and you surround yourself with yes men. Yes. And I can't imagine in what other context that would be relevant to talk about right now. But let's keep it about basketball. He froze out Michael Finley, who was adamant about not doing this Luka Doncic trade. Dirk Nowitzki has been frozen out as an ambassador to the team, and they're hoping to now that Nico Harrison's been fired to bring him back into the fold. I don't know the details or how frayed that relationship is. Mark Cuban was supposed to stay on as some sort of like advisor, governor kind of thing, the same kind of deal that all these owners try to do when they sell it. And they're like, I'll just stay on in an advisory role. He got frozen out.
He still has 27% stake in the team, and it was supposed to be. But
he doesn't have he didn't have his courtside seats. Am I wrong about that?
No, he still has his courtside seats.
I thought that there was some weird story about like him and his seats, and like they didn't want him. That's like the face of the franchise.
But I do want to say something because I'm kind of just tired of Mark Cuban in general right now.
Oh, yeah.
Mark Cuban hired Nico Harrison.
Yeah.
So the victim complex and all these conversations about it, and he hired him against the recommendations of an entire group of people within the organization. Yeah. So Mark Cuban trying to act like he's the victim in a circumstance, you literally made your own bed. Like that, you went against the thing, thought you were smarter than this. And I just kind of want Mark Cuban to go away. So it's the unfortunate part about this, because between the running cover for Steve Ballmer and the weird villain turn and some of his stuff, like, yeah. I don't have any sympathy for Mark Cuban in this situation.
I have no idea why he's commenting on New York City's mayoral race as if that matters. Does he live in New York? Does he have any vested interest in what happens? And the only thing he has a vested interest in is people finding out that billionaires aren't right all the time and that they should be taxed properly. Oh, no. That's what he's fighting against. And he's protecting his other buddies about it.
Mark Cuban didn't die the hero. So he's now living long enough to see himself become the villain.
You might have a little something going on there. Yeah. I do feel bad. We know a lot of Mavericks fans.
We do. Shout out to them.
Shout out to them. And I mean, like I said, Cooper Flag is going to be great, just not this year, but he's going to show flashes of it. He's going to grow as a player. And I guess, the one thing I guess I would say is a lot of the players that Nico did bring in, PJ Washington, Cooper Flag, those guys, they said, two reporters, they texted him, they called him, they said thank you for everything. So it's not like he is, a complete pariah among the team. They may not have agreed with everything, but also, it's more gray than we lead it on to be. Everyone just thinks it's black and white. Everybody hates Nico Harrison. He had to go. He did a lot of good things. He did one big, bad, ugly thing that is going to be the thing that it's the first line of his obituary.
Yeah. I mean, Nico's Nico's whole thing, in terms of what we've heard, is that he was a relationships guy, right? So the fact that he has strong relationships with PJ Washington and Kyrie Irving and players on the like, that was what he was best at. The problem is, whatever the mechanism for that kind of social interaction that he has with players, he didn't extend it to the other people. So not only did he seem to be kind of like a know-it-all, but he didn't ingratiate himself to the other people that should be working in the environment. So if you're having great relationships with the players and it's working out well, you can survive. If you have great relationships with players and everything else is effed up, they'll find somebody else that can do that part of it, right? Like, that's not
Absolutely.
your primary job. You can be a GM that your entire roster hates and still end up being very good at your job. We've seen it plenty of times. That's just kind of what it is. And uh, I'm going to say this and then we'll be done. Keep an eye out for Bob Myers. This just, for whatever reason, feels to me, Bob Myers has been trying to work his way back into the NBA. I know he just took another role with another league, but for some reason, this just feels like we're going to see Bob Myers pop up as a name for this role when they try to fill it full time.
All right. You heard it here on the No Gimmies podcast. That was the tip off. That's how we like to start the show, with the big news around the NBA. We're moving on to the vibe check. And Aaron and I wanted to talk about our biggest surprises and biggest disappointments in players around the league. Aaron, how big is your list?
I tried to keep it pared down just for the sake. I mean, couple things. One, this is the non-rookie division because I don't think it's really fair. I'm even
I
going
try
to
to keep it
try.
also non-superstar on my end. I mean, there's plenty of guys, because we've touched on those guys, but
Yeah,
I'm talking about like the secondary, second stars, or maybe even the tertiary bench guys. I try to
I
keep it
didn't
around there.
I
It's
didn't
pretty obvious.
necessarily adhere to that, but what I will say is, for the sake of people that are out there when you're listening to it, we have talked about several of the other guys that would be on some of these lists, the Cam Johnsons and Keontae Georges of the world. And so you may, if you're hearing us say this and we're nominating or bringing up players, it's not that those guys aren't involved in the conversation. It's just we've talked about them enough on prior pods, so we wanted to give a little bit of airtime to some guys that probably got a little less um, um, you know, play on the podcast or have been discussed less on here, because you can just go back and listen to, I mean, literally, Cam Johnson's obviously maybe at the top, Desmond Bain, we've talked about these guys. So this list is going to look a little different. We thought it'd be fun to just talk about some other guys that we've seen do some stuff or not do some stuff in this case
Yeah.
early on in the season.
And it's a big league. There's 450 players, there's 30 teams, there's a lot of people to cover, and we don't want to rehash the same thing. So, with that being said, Aaron, would you like to start us off with one of your surprises or one of your disappointments? Which one are you feeling?
Let's go with disappointments.
That's
Okay.
just like the way my dad likes to start with our conversations. Let's go.
Yeah. Gerson Yabusele for the New York Knicks has not been the player that the Knicks had hoped that they were bringing in. It has been rough to watch. He's averaging 2.7 points per game right now. That's down from 11 last season. 2.7 rebounds, for the sake of symmetry. That's down from 5.6. And more importantly, like, he's shooting 30% from the field, 29% from the three. And what the Knicks were hoping they were getting from him was going to be a rebounding machine that could be a stretch big. He's been none of the above. He looks really hesitant now. When you watch him in games, you can see that he's lost his confidence in his shot. He's shooting 50% from the free throw line. To me, when you see kind of those free throw numbers, it's usually a reflection of a guy that's in his head. And I hope that he can figure it out and get a little bit more opportunity. But he's only playing 10 minutes a game for them now because he's not having the positive impact that they were hoping for. And so it's been a little surprising. Yabusele was a guy that really had to work hard to find his way back into the league. And it's just kind of unfortunate to see what's happened this season. He just kind of looks like the guy that, he was 5 years ago, instead of the guy that we saw in the Olympics and through Philadelphia last season.
Yeah, I think a lot of these teams are going to need to stop being so dazzled by the international play. We always think it's going to translate into some, NBA on-court product where that exact same player is going to transition from overseas to the NBA. A case in point, and another guy that I had on my list that we don't have to talk about if you don't want to, but we can, was Dennis Schroeder. Signs the big deal with the Sacramento Kings, 3 years, $45 million. He's been dreadful for the Sacramento Kings. I have so many Kings fans on threads that are clamoring for Russell Westbrook to start in his place. That's got to. I mean, as you know how I feel about Russ, but whenever your team is begging to start Russell Westbrook, you're not in a good place. Yabusele, to your point. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
No, I was going to say, well, one, I mean, he's literally not in a good place because the Kings have lost their last 4 games by a combined 120 points or whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, that
it's
is
about
just a
a
terrible
30-point margin of
situation.
loss.
And we've seen with Schroeder, or like it's very much an issue of proper fit for him. Like he has to be in the right role and the right fit. I don't think he's a starting point guard in the NBA, so that's the first thing. He's best off the bench as kind of like a change of pace guy or a switch up guy who can defend and do things. The Kings need him more than they should have because we talked about the Kings point guard situation being an issue. Going back to Yabusele though, we saw proof of concept last year. And so that's part of what the problem is. Like, I agree with you. Of course, there's plenty of times where like some guy balls out in the Olympics. And part of it is because he's the only one eating on a team that has no NBA players and one guy that maybe had a cup of coffee. Like, right. Like we've seen that enough times. But Yabusele was good for Philadelphia last year. Now, granted, that was a bad Philadelphia team,
Sure.
but I didn't think that he was just a looter and a riot. I thought he was a guy that had shown some things that were going to be sustainable and more importantly, beneficial to what New York needed. And again, it was the shooting and the rebounding. And it's just strange that we're not seeing that from him. And it's still early. He's probably working his way in. It's also tough because we knew he was going to be their 8th or 9th guy, kind of depending on how the rotations and stuff were working out because of Clarkson and Miles McBride.
Yeah.
But it just looks bad. Like he looks like he had, like his confidence was just sapped.
Yeah. He's not contributing on either side of the ball. He's not really defending very well either. And he's not contributing in any way to the Knicks offensive system, which I think if this was still a Tom Thibodeau team, he would be much more useful. I think that Tibbs, I know he's not known for playing bench players, but I think Yabusele is more of a Tibbs guy than he's a Mike Brown guy, if that makes sense. I just don't think that he works in this system that Mike Brown's trying to cultivate. I mean, if you look at Karl Anthony Towns is having a really rough start to the season. You can look at the raw numbers and you can say, well, he's at 21 and 12. But he's had the lowest 2-point percentage since his rookie year, his lowest 3-point percentage, I think, since his rookie year. He's, I think it's the lowest points per game, his lowest field goal attempts. Like, there's just something about the Mike Brown system that a couple of these guys are just not picking up quite yet. It's still a lot of Jalen Brunson. It's still a lot of like the wings and the guards. It's a lot of Deuce McBride coming off the bench. It's, Miles Bridges has been actually really good. Anunoby's been fantastic. He doesn't like
Mikal Bridges, but yeah.
Oh, I said Miles Bridges, didn't I? I think I was thinking Miles McBride. Ugh.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean,
Mikal,
the system is
it's
a lot
all
of Brunson, but
guard
the
heavy.
way that they're initiating the offense differently, and obviously that's part of what this adjustment is, right? Like it's not just
it's not
Brunson. Well, yeah, and Brunson is not always the man bringing down the ball. They're doing a lot more of Iverson cuts and stuff to get him. And I like that. I actually like the variety of that offensive attack, and I think that eventually it'll work out. Also, Cat has had he goes through these spells, right? Like we've seen so many. He had a stretch last year where he was really bad for 15 or 20 games. Like Cat is obviously a very emotional player and a player there's not a lot of balance to how he functions. And so I think he'll find his way back. But anyways, we don't have to keep talking about the Knicks because I didn't want to do that. Yabusele was kind of the first.
I brought it up.
No, I just, but Yabusele, and we're going to, Yabusele, we'll see what happens. But if this is the player now, it really changes whether or not he's going to be back in the league again. It just feels unfortunate.
Yeah, that's a bummer. Yeah, because I liked Yabusele on the Sixers. I mean, he was good enough to earn this contract with the Knicks. So it's a bummer to watch. I brought up my disappointment player, it's Dennis Schroeder. The other night against Denver, whenever they just got absolutely smacked.
Jokic went full God mode.
Well, is the Kings
55, 10 and 5 on 18 of 20. Oh no, that was against the Clippers. Excuse me, I apologize. He smacked up
you're talking about the 55-point game. The 30. You're talking about the 35-point game that he had, where he also shot 18. A ridiculous. I think he was
90% this week.
Can I tell you what Dennis Schroeder's line was that game? 21 minutes, 0 of 3 from the field, 3 assists, 3 turnovers as the starting point guard for an NBA basketball team.
Well,
He is
I'm sure he set the tone defensively for that stout Kings defense, though.
Yes. He's averaging 11 points this season, 6 assists on 38% from the field. Not exactly a barn burner. Dennis Schroeder, it was a tough signing when they made it. It was an overpay when they did it. And there was an overpay, and I kept thinking to myself, an overpay for what? Like, what is the end goal of what this team is trying to do?
He made no sense for them. Like, the thing is,
None.
if
They
it
just
wasn't
add
for,
money.
if it wasn't for what his contract looks like, I would be like, the Pistons should trade back for him, but not at that number. Because I really liked him in Detroit, and I think even now Detroit could use what he provides.
Yeah, the secondary ball handling would be great for them.
Yeah, and like Daenerys Jenkins has been fine, but he's not a true point guard. He's a scoring guard, and I think Schroeder was such a good fit with what they do stylistically and just but not at $15 million a year.
And from a shit talking standpoint, he fit right in with that group in Detroit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my disappointing player. He's just been very bad. Russ has actually played much better than him in both starting and off the bench. Russ brings an energy and a competitiveness that this team lacks. When you look at guys like Levine, DeRozan, who just look dead behind the eyes, Sabonis knows he's not going anywhere. They keep, you know what the worst negotiating tactic is in the NBA? Announcing to everyone that you're going to do a full teardown. Do you expect that you're going to get value for the players that you have when everyone knows?
Don't let the league know that it's like being one of those Persian rug sales stores and everything must go, but then I walk in and you're charging full price for every item. It's like, no, I saw the sign. Like, if you guys are actually going out of business, I'll give you 50 cents on the dollar.
Exactly. Yeah, that could not a great metaphor for what the Kings are doing. And I think we got Doug Christie's Dave Fizdale moment.
How's that for data?
Yeah, he did his slamming on the desk. He said, if you don't believe in this team, you keep that energy, you stay over there because we're going to find guys who compete and we're going to get it right. And then they proceed to get the absolute dog shit kicked out of them for the next consecutive games. You can't do that unless, you have a little bit of an identity and something that, a toughness that you can fall back on. JB Bickerstaff did that last year, was able to do it because Detroit was the kind of team that will respond to that kind of thing. This is not that team.
I'm going to ask one question, then I want to get off King's corner because for whatever reason, Kings have gotten a lot of talk for us on the last few pods.
They've doing it to themselves.
Yeah. Shout out Tall Skinny Ben once again. I respect what Doug Christie was saying, but if you feel that way, then why was Keon Ellis playing so few minutes?
I do not understand that.
He played less than 18 minutes in the last 5 games. Deal him if you're not going to use him.
Deal him if you're not going to play him. Because Keon Ellis is a valuable player.
Yeah, and he literally does set a tone defensively. Like, he's the type of guy that gives that type of Alex Caruso light energy where everybody has to raise their intensity because of what he brings to the floor. Why is he not on the floor?
It's not just the hair. It's not just the stature. He's Cason Wallace light. Yeah. He's that kind of guy. And let me tell you something. He guards bigger when he has to. He makes opposing guards work to get around him. And if you want a defensive tone setter, start him. Like, I don't know what else you're supposed to do. But they're just like, well, maybe we just keep starting Russ because he scores and assists and rebounds a lot. Well, I'm like, Russ doesn't have that, drive on both sides. He's 36. Yeah. So you can't expect him to do this for an entire season where he's your energy guy. You need another person to go along with that. And that's Keon Ellis. So many teams would trade for him right now. He's maybe he's not going to bring back the biggest package, but he might be the most valuable based on the contract player they have.
Yeah, play him or trade him. That's where we're at. All right.
Yeah. Let's go. Surprise.
One of my favorite surprises, we've talked about him a little bit, but I really wanted to quantify it because he's been awesome this year. Trae Jones with the Bulls has been a revelation in his role. He's averaging 13.3 points per game, 5.5 assists, and 4 rebounds. That's really good considering they're paying him $8 million a year. And most importantly, 2.1 steals per game, which was fourth in the league. He's
Yep.
always been a very efficient player. And part of that is because he's been reluctant to take threes. He's shooting the three ball with a little bit more consistency, which is very important to what the Bulls try to do stylistically. And more importantly, because of what he provides defensively, he gives them a lot of what they need on that end. I questioned the move. I've been thoroughly impressed by the way that he has played. It's not that I questioned it because I didn't like him. I just didn't think he was going to be. I thought he was Javon Carter light, and I was totally wrong. Trae Jones has been great. The Bulls are scuffling a little bit right now because of injuries, and they've played some tough games against some good teams. But Trae Jones has been one of the big reasons that they've gotten out to one of the biggest reasons that they got out to such a hot start.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the absence of Kobe White, he's really filled in a role that is required for the Bulls and what they do stylistically. If you don't play defense on a Billy Donovan team, unless you're Vucevic, which he can't really do anything about it, he's kind of stuck with that contract and stuck with that player. But Vucevic provides enough on the offensive end to kind of offset how bad he is defensively.
And his ability to shoot the three is so fundamental to how they play stylistically. It's the
Absolutely.
same reason Jalen Smith has been so good for them, too. They have to have stretch bigs for that offense.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's been fantastic for them. And like I said, with Kobe White coming back, he's played so well in the role. You and I teased this a little bit on the last podcast. Is like, is he a trade candidate because of what they're already kind of working with? And you can bring back
not for Anthony Davis, not for Anthony Davis, not for Anthony Davis. Sorry. If I say it 3 times, hopefully it comes true.
Can we talk about that? What is the he's from Chicago, so that's like the only that's always worked out historically. Kevin Durant's from Washington because he was always going to end up on the Wizards, right? When has that ever been the thing? Like he's going, we do this because of LeBron, the I'm going home thing. I swear to God, LeBron has like warped this league around his imagery like so much. Just because he's from Cleveland, he's got to go back to Cleveland. Like no one does this. They don't make decisions based on this emotionality of like, I was born there, I was raised there. There's a little bit.
Players do, but they almost never do it in the quote unquote prime of their career, like finishing.
Dwayne Wade being a prime example of that. And he did 1 year in Chicago and went right back.
Yeah, that was not a good.
That's what I mean. Like these never work out. These like I'm going home things. It only works for LeBron, guys. Like he's a freak. LeBron. It's like comparing NFL quarterbacks to Tom Brady. And everybody can just play until they're 45 or whatever. That's not true. We've seen it time and time again.
Yeah.
I don't
All right. What are your biggest surprises?
I'm actually going to go because, I shit on this team pretty hard in our preseason guesses and rankings about where we thought these teams were going to end up.
Our previews.
Yeah. I was real mean to this team. And there's a particular player that I want to call out who's been pretty fantastic.
So you got to apologize to the Utah Jazz and Lowry Markkanen, or
RJ Barrett.
All right.
RJ Barrett and the Toronto Raptors, who I still don't understand the construction of the team, but they do play really hard defense. I think RJ Barrett, I know you said it, Rajakovic has done a fantastic job of getting this team to play very good defense. You have an inconsistent point guard who's not really good at getting everybody open shots.
Quickly's my fantasy team IQ.
Yeah, Quickly's not been great, but Ingram has actually been a really nice scoring engine for them. Scotty Barnes has looked like a very well-rounded player, and RJ Barrett. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. If you had something you want to add.
I was going to say, and the thing with Barnes is we knew Barnes was going to give that well-rounded performance, but the fact that he's shooting the three ball as well as he is, that's always going to be the deciding factor of whether or not Scotty Barnes is a very good player or an all-star level performer. It's really that fundamental to what he is, which is crazy to say about a guy that is going to be first or second across the board in all the stats. But it's like for teams to honor him and for the offensive spacing to matter, he's got to knock down shots, and he's shooting 44% from the three right now on 4.1 attempts, which is not insignificant.
I wanted to call this out because RJ Barrett's been very consistent basically since he got to Toronto just a couple of years ago. Like he's been at about 50% from the field, shooting league average from slightly above league average from three. I think he's about 35%. He's
Yeah.
24-4, but it's the defensive part of it he's really bought into. He's always had the size and he's had some good instincts, but he's never really been a good on ball or off ball like defensive player. He's not like gonna he's kind of doing the thing that we saw Julius Randle do, which is another one of my guys. Julius Randle do whenever he got to Minnesota. It was a little bit of a slog trying to figure out where he fit in when it first started, but you saw him in the playoffs. He's guarding guys like LeBron and Luka, and just giving that to Julius Randle. RJ Barrett's been fantastic, kind of doing a lot of the same kind of thing. I think he's doing really well for them.
The thing with RJ Barrett that I've always been impressed with is he's always been competitive as hell. And so I think some of it is he's now in a situation where there's stability and he's being surrounded with other players that help with kind of his defensive liabilities and things as well. But that competitive energy and fire has always been there. It's just now he's really settled into who he is.
Yeah, he's 6'8", though. 6'8", like 235, 240. Like, for his size lends you to believe, it leads you to believe, excuse me, that he has all the physical tools to be a good defender. It's just like, does he have the instincts and does he have the wherewithal, the intelligence? And I think he's showing that a little bit more because he's buying into this defensive system that Toronto's put in front of him. And he's playing with another really good defensive player in Scotty Barnes. And I know Jakob Poeltl's not exactly the, defensive center that he used to be, but
he's still very. I mean, the thing about Jakob Poeltl, yes. he's one of the 10 best defensive centers in the league because of his ability positionally. He's always there, and he's great at contests, and he's a smart player, and he's aware. Like he's not a and that's all you need in this system when you have all those high quality wing defenders is you don't have to have an elite rim protector, but you do have to have a guy that's an elite rim presence, and that's what he is.
Yes, exactly. Having a backline defender that you can actually trust actually emboldens a lot of these guys on the perimeter to play a little bit more physical when they're on ball. Because if their assignment happens to get around them, they still got Poeltl on the back end. They could still use a little bit more center depth behind Poeltl. I don't know if Murray Boyles
Well, Murray Boyles is kind of a 4-5. I think his natural position is more 4. He's only a small ball 5, and so
I'm saying we would be asking too much of asking a rookie to be like that kind of. Yeah, I would like a little bit more depth behind Poeltl. It'd be nice if they had a better backup center, but I'm not going to sit here and keep complaining about the Raptors, who have been have been a very pleasant surprise.
Yeah. Now, why don't you give me what you're
better than I expected them to?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
You know how I felt. They've looked very much like I thought they would. Yeah. Yes. Say it again.
I said you had them higher than me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it your turn for a disappointment?
Is it my turn? Sure. Yeah.
I just did my surprise.
This is going to be a package deal. We've talked about Memphis plenty, but let's talk about the combination of the 2-guard and small forward position in Memphis, who have started every single game. Jalen Wells and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope might be the worst 2-3 combination going in the league right now. And I don't typically want to pick a guy that's a sophomore because there are still players that are developing more as disappointments and surprises. But in this case, Jalen Wells, a guy who shot the ball really well, who came into the league as an offensive performer and then surprised with how he played defensively, 9.6 points per game. His splits are 37, 29, and 65. He's shooting 65% from the free throw line. So that goes back to the Yabusele thing I was saying, where it just tells me that there's a confidence issue and that he's got to get out of it. But not to be outdone, KCP, who everybody told us was going to have a bounce back year this year, and anyone who's listened to our podcast already knows where Evan and I land on KCP.
No.
Good defender, but the reason KCP shot as well as he did in all those years is he's being spoon-fed by the best. Currently, 8.1 points per game, 35% from the field, 30% from the three. Mind you, Both of those guys have started every game this season. That
Yeah.
means that's your production around your other stars. Those two guys are below league average across the board, basically, from a production standpoint. That is really difficult to run a functional offense with those two guys being your shooters in the starter role.
Yeah. Chris Vernon has been pounding this point that they are the worst guard wing combo, the worst like two guys in those positions in the entire league. That
Oh, I
there's
hadn't
no
heard that, but
he's been pounding this. He's like what? Because basically he's been using it as a defense against the criticism of John Morant. Like,
yeah.
What can you reasonably expect John Morant to do whenever these two guys are his wing players? And he's been pounding this point. And I looked at it after I heard him make this point. He's made it on his podcast. He's made it on multiple other podcasts. You're exactly right. These guys, they just are not starting caliber guys. I know they've got a lot of injuries, guys on the bench that are just like not available for them, and they're just plugging these guys in. But it looks bad. It looks bad on both sides.
And in the case of both of those guys, those guys were slated to be the starters before any injuries happened. I mean, you may make an argument with whether or not Ty Jerome was going to crack the starting lineup. I don't think that was intended to be the case.
Scottie Pippen ever like over Jalen Wells? Was that never an option?
You're really going to struggle defensively if you're starting Scottie Pippen.
I just figured like they could use the offense.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing, Wells offensively to start, this is not what they expected, right? Like if you got the Jalen Wells you even had for 75% of last season, then he's a better offensive player for what you need alongside John Morant than Scottie Pippen Jr. could ever be. And I love Scottie Pippen Jr. for what he's become. But no, this was always what it was supposed to be, which, at the end of the day, Zach Kline has been phenomenal, but you kind of have to question what the theory was there in terms of those guys. Now, some of that, you have to, like, this is not who we thought Jalen Wells was going to be. So it's not like this is season upon season of this. That's why it is so surprising, is he's just been that bad. And he's another guy where you watch him, and as soon as a shot leaves his hand, you're like, that has no chance, and that's I talk about the qualitative versus the quantitative, and you watch so many people that get stuck in you can just look at the numbers and his numbers look bad, but the eye test really tells you the story about his struggles even more than these bad numbers do.
Yeah, it's really ugly in Memphis right now. It just seems like it's one of those things where everything seems to be going wrong for them this season. They started off with like basically no front court depth. Edey was on the bench, on the injured list.
Brandon Clark and Edey were hurt. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can go on down the line. It's just Twomasi.
It's wild that this was the season from Hell team 2 years ago, and they decided to have a sequel within this short of a time span.
And they just missed Halloween, season from Hell 2. That's they just got utterly smacked by the Celtics. I think it was like 131-95. I mean, it was an absolute ass beating.
That's not a Celtics team that was coming in playing great. They had just had a bad loss in Philadelphia. Yeah. Why don't you give me one of yours?
Okay. This is a weird one. It's a tough one. I'm not sure how you feel about it, because it was kind of like the conversation you and I had before we got on, where it was like, you asked me if a certain player was a disappointment, and I said, it depends on what you expected them to do originally, what the expectations were coming into the season. This is one of those kind of guys. So we've already talked about the Magic. We've talked about Desmond Bane. Can we talk about Jonathan Isaac?
Yeah. Does Jonathan Isaac still play basketball?
Barely. He is playing 9 minutes a game. And he is...
So he's finally kneeling on the sidelines?
Well, he's allowed to kneel because he's praying, not because he's opposing anything. But he is 2.5 points, 2.4 rebounds, 33% from the field, 18% from three. Like, what does he do if he's not? He doesn't extend the floor. He can't 9 minutes of defense in a 48-minute game doesn't do anything. So their defense is still.
In fairness, there was a point where, like, in a 15-minute spurt, he was a defensive wrecker that really left an impact. Yeah. But when you watch them now, it doesn't feel like that. It doesn't.
I don't even realize he's out there half the time. I watched the game
Absolutely.
the other night. I
Yeah.
watched a couple. I watched the Hawks game a couple of weeks ago that was on ESPN. Then I watched the Knicks Magic game that was on primetime the other day. And he just doesn't have an impact anymore, and he just can't really even stay out there. He comes in for like 2 minute spurts, and they take him right back out. Like, what can you reasonably do? And it's just like it's another one of those guys where the idea of him has always been more tantalizing than the actual on-court product. There were like some flashes where we were
Yeah,
like,
we've
wow,
had some runs where he was really good, particularly right before he got hurt. But even like
he's got
there
two
were,
whole seasons he's missed.
yeah,
Twice
yeah.
he's missed the entire season.
But we're 4 years removed from that, and what's weird is he's 28, so he's supposed to be hitting his prime, and it's not. It doesn't look like it's a byproduct of just athletic degradation. It's just like he just lost any of his ability to do anything. Like you said, you see him on the floor, and at times I'm like, who's that? Oh, that's Jonathan Isaac. I thought that was like a two-way contract. Like, oh,
Yeah.
Orlando Robinson really got dark. It's such a weird.
It's so bizarre. But even when he was getting those 15 points a game or 15 minutes a game, he was averaging 2 stocks. Now he's getting 9 minutes, and he's barely even getting 1 stock between like steals and blocks. So it's like even when he's out there, he's not even making an impact on the ball. And it's like, again, what did I expect from him? I wasn't quite sure. But whatever I've gotten has been a complete disappointment to a team that could really use someone like him. The idea of him would be very useful on a team like the Magic.
Yeah, although I will say one of the issues with Isaac, and I think it's probably part of why he's being played less, is the Magic have plenty of tall, rangy defensive players who aren't absolutely god awful shooters. And
Yeah.
he might be better in a situation where what his physical abilities are feels more unique to the circumstance, right? Like in Orlando, what he can do, they can replicate that with Tristan da Silva and Franz and Paolo.
One of my favorite players or favorite role players in the league right now is Tristan da Silva, by the way.
Yeah.
He's been
And
fantastic.
a very good example of why sometimes taking a guy who has gone through their entire college process, he was a finished product that came into the league already as something that could that could provide positive impact on a team. And he's only built on that in the second year because he's found a shot. But going back to Isaac, like, I don't know, maybe if you can find another situation with a team that needs more defensive punch off the bench and can absorb his shooting liabilities a little bit more, like maybe that works somewhere else. Like if you can get on a team that's doing a lot more, like so many teams are pressing and stuff. Like imagining Isaac as like the backline guy in a press system where he gets to run out and do some stuff. Maybe he can reignite whatever he had found a couple years ago as like a defensive dynamo. But right now he's just a non-entity and a guy that's kind of playing his way off the floor.
Yeah, there's only one team I know that's trading for more centers. Someone give Phoenix a ring. See what we can do.
I feel like the Lakers would 100% pursue Jonathan Isaac.
Oh, the second they got him too, it would be like, we stole him.
Yeah.
We stole him. And then they'd be bringing up clips from like 4 years ago when he was awesome.
Yeah.
And then they were like, see what he could do for us. He's not like that. Well, I'm not gonna dump all Andre Ayton, but Shaquille O'Neal did a pretty good job of that the other night whenever they were playing Oklahoma City. But anyway, we don't have to get into that. All right. Is it me? Am I up?
It's me.
No. I just did Isaac. You're right.
Yeah. One of my favorite surprises, and again, I'm actually going to talk about a sophomore here, but it's because of not just what he's doing, but how he's doing it. But welcome to the league, Alexander Sarr. This guy, all of a sudden, like, yeah. I mean, what Alex Sarr is doing this year as a second-year player, I'm going to give the raw numbers first, but then I want to talk about what's more important about it. He's 19 and 8.5 in terms of points and rebounds. He's third in the league at 2.3 blocks. He's shooting 53% from the field. He shot 39.4% last year, and he's at 35% from the three after shooting 31% last season. But why that matters the most is his three-point attempts per game are down 2 attempts per game, and the percentage of his shots coming from 2-point range jumped by almost 20% or a little bit more than 20% from last year. And
Love it.
my issue with Alexander Sarr from the moment I saw him, like I saw him in a G League versus Perth game and was thoroughly impressed. But one of the issues was the feel and kind of the intuitive nature. And you and I had belabored that, talked about it a lot last season. Like he just doesn't have a feel that I like. And you can tell that in the summer, he took in the criticism and adapted and adjusted, and his game looks different. It's not just that he's playing with much more confidence, which he is, but he's playing with much more intelligence, which I wasn't sure about, and I'm impressed, and he deserves the credit for that.
Yeah, like I said, he's been on my list too. I think he's fantastic. You and I remember we talked about Sarr last year about his inability to really finish at the rim and his inability, but to like even endure the contact that happens whenever you're trying to make a play at the rim. We thought he played soft. We thought that he avoided contact. We thought that he would try to kind of go underneath, over the top. The physicality that has skyrocketed from him this year has been a sight for sore eyes. I love it so much. That is something the Wizards should be very happy about. That he is. I mean, isn't he 20?
I
19
believe
when he
that
was
is
drafted?
correct.
Yeah, I mean, he's
Yeah,
still a kid,
yeah.
and he's
He'll be 21 in April.
yeah, he'll be 21 in April. He's also going to be playing, with the French national team leading up to the Olympics. I think that's also going to help him a lot getting those reps. But he's been good, man, and like the Wizards don't have a ton to hang their hat on, but like that's what they call a building block.
Yeah.
That's the kind of guy that you can build around the idea of a 3-and-D center who, rebounds, shoots, and makes good decisions at the rim.
And more importantly, he's extracting the 3-and-D part. He's a defensive mind center that can stretch. And I like that a
Right.
lot more than the idea of him trying to be Brook Lopez light. I didn't want that from him. He's too gifted and too talented. And to your point, he's shooting 80% at the rim, and now he's shooting 45% from that intermediate space in the restricted area. And all those things, his little floaters and all this stuff that last year looked bad, just look good. Jared, our friend on Threads, had been kind of trumpeting him for a long time. There was a period there where I was like, I don't really
didn't see it.
what you see. This year, I see it. He was ahead of it. The developmental stuff, and again, really just the ability to think in the game and adjust what he needed to. That game against Joel Embiid, I was so impressed by, because Embiid was trying to really play a physical brand of basketball with Sarr, and Sarr was, I mean, I think he had 19 in the first half of that game. Couple mean dunks, and was really giving as good as he gets. And what I loved, kind of to your point as well, Evan, was there was a few times there where you saw him start to do the soft stuff, and you could tell he adjusted. Like he went to do kind of like a pump fake, and then he was going to turn into a hook, and then he kind of turned and pivoted back. Was like, no, I'm going through this guy. Like, this guy's ground bound. I'm huge. He's gotten banged on a bunch this year, and that's because he's contesting everything at the rim. Good. I want to see that. Get dunked on, because it means you're putting yourself in the play. I love it.
Yeah. Zero notes on that. Alex Sarr was also on my list. So I had a player, but then we said no rookies, and I wanted to give him a shout because I thought he was playing pretty excellent, a bad situation. But
I said I wasn't going to do rookies. You can if you want to.
No, that's fine.
Doesn't matter.
I do want to shout out Tari Eason, who's just been shooting the leather off the ball. That's a great player to bring up. I think he's shooting like over 50% still from 3-point range.
I think he's still leading the league, isn't he?
As far as I know, I don't think his numbers have gone down any. Since the last time I checked, he still is. So he's been phenomenal. Like, I know a lot of people were kind of dangling him out there as like the potential trade piece. Like, that's the kind of guy that a lot of teams would look for. That's the kind of team that the Rockets would look for. And why would you want to take a bench piece who is playing, putting up career numbers? I think he's at 53% from three. He's at 52% from the field. I mean, his effective field goal percentage. He's at like 66.3% for Tari Eason off the bench. I mean, 12, 5, and 2 with elite defense is the kind of guy that you want on your team. He's been awesome. Tari Eason is the kind of guy that like any team would want, and the only problem with the Rockets is they have a luxury of those kind of like big wings uh, that
Well,
people.
and Tari was also asking for over 100 million. And if you look at the Rockets books, it's very difficult for them to try to
Yeah.
work, particularly in the same summer where they just gave my boy JSJ the bag as well.
Well,
I
just
do.
real quick, we because since we've had this conversation before, this is also the downside of negotiating with your players because sometimes they earn the bag. We were talking about the Pistons and we were like, you know what, we're gonna have them prove it to us, and then we'll get back to contract
Yeah,
negotiations. We're not just gonna hand the money over. Well, now you got a decision to make if he's gonna keep playing this well.
yeah.
But
I,
they have opportunities to free up money. By the way, they
I
have a
do
lot of
want to say
players.
one thing about his 3-point shooting though is uh it is all from the corner.
Oh
Like
yeah,
and that's not a bad thing, but just in terms of
more
his
players shoot from the
percentages,
corner.
part of the reason his percentages look that great. I just, for anybody that's out there that's not watching the games, I don't want you to think Tari Eason is on the same level of shooter as some of the other guys in that conversation. He's not a movement shooter. He's not shooting from anyone. Like, you look at his shot chart and everything is in the corner, and that's fine. He's making the shots. He's doing what he's supposed to do. But there is going to be some redundancy stylistically with him and Dodo once Dodo's healthy, Dorian Finney-Smith. And so that'll be interesting to see because that's also what Dodo does. Now, he's obviously not the defensive wrecker out on the perimeter as a playmaker that Tari Eason is, but we may see a little bit of return to norm or mean for Tari Eason a little bit. Or
Yeah,
we may see one of those two guys basically become expendable, which was probably what the Rockets were thinking in the first place with both the signing of Dorian Finney-Smith and the waiting on giving Tari Eason the money, because they knew if they didn't sign him, he's a more tradable piece during the year if they have to move him. And that's probably what's going to happen there.
well, I will. For a team that really stockpiled a lot of centers and wings, and now is in desperate need of guard depth.
Yeah.
It'd be
Yeah.
nice to be able to swing a couple of those guys and be like, hey, we have this Fred Van Vliet contract. We have these guys on really nice contracts that you could
Yeah.
use. A center here, a wing there. Can I entice you? That's a good.
Yeah.
It's a good, expiring contract and a couple of like rotational players that can get you something in this league, especially with a league that's very hesitant to make moves, big money moves. But they have that option. But yeah, Tari Eason's been awesome for the Rockets. He's shooting 5 a game from the corner as well. So like if you're shooting that, I mean, it's not like this is a small sample. Like he's shooting 3.2.
Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
5 is a pretty good number for. He's averaging 12 points. That's great bench production. That's the kind of thing you look for.
Yeah. He's been great in his role, and that's all you can ask for.
If Alex Caruso was putting up 12 points a game, I think he'd be in the 6th man of the year conversation. But, hopefully Eason's getting that kind of look too.
Yeah, he will be if that maintains. The biggest issue with Easton is always health, and we'll see as the year goes on if that peaks its head again. All right, my last disappointing player, and this one hurts me because everybody knows how much I love this guy, but the increased need on Derek White has not shown itself very well this season.
That's a good one.
Still has looked phenomenal defensively, but a guy who I thought may sneak into the 20-point per game scoring range with kind of the Celtics needing him to increase his scoring volume. He's at 15.5 points per game, which is actually less than he averaged last year and basically kind of around where he's been. He's shooting 35% from the field. He's at 43.5% effective field goal. That is not good. And even worse, because of what he provides in this offense, he's 23.8% on catch and shoots and 23.3% on open looks. Like, that just can't happen. He's become too good of a shooter, but also he's just way too important for what they have to do from a spacing standpoint. And I don't know how much of the Celtics you've watched in the last few weeks. I've seen a ton of them, not really intentionally. Their offense, they struggle at times to get anything besides Jaylen Brown taking 10 dribbles to get to the nail and shoot a rough fadeaway or pump fake into somebody. Like, I feel like they're just spamming the same action where it's Jaylen Brown ISO at 8 seconds left because Peyton Pritchard can't penetrate.
And then whenever he gets stuck, he looks for a kick out and they have to hoist at the end of the shot clock. And really bad. Yeah. It's
And in
not a
fairness
good.
to what you said, that's probably also reflected in these numbers. Like some guys are getting
Mhm.
live grenades in bad late situations on that
Peyton
Celtic system.
Pritchard's numbers are down. Sam Hauser's numbers are down. Like nobody's shooting well for this team.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
and I don't I mean, it look, at the end of the day, it's a byproduct of the fact that people also Jaylen Brown can't do what Jason Tatum could do in terms of collapsing a defense by breaking somebody down off the dribble. He's a
yeah.
phenomenal scorer. He's averaging a career high, but he doesn't get by anybody unless it's a pump fake and a first step. So all that stuff that used to happen that got these open shots can't exist in this offense as
Right.
currently situated. Derek White has been, unfortunately, probably the most conspicuous collateral damage of that. But also, he just has to be better as a scorer.
Yeah.
Like that, we just have to expect more of a guy that we've seen more of at this point.
Uh, Rob Mahoney from The Ringer kind of really nailed this. He was talking about Derek White. He said that like if you put Derek White around other superstars, he becomes that third star. But
Yeah,
whenever he is put into the role that he's been thrust into now with the Jason Tatum injury, he kind of becomes what he was when he was in San Antonio, which is not a bad player. He's definitely a better 3-point shooter than he's shown this season. We've seen that in Boston for the last couple of years. But he was when he was traded from San Antonio, he was a below average 3-point shooter.
yeah, he was not. He
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 was
had the
not.
he only became a good shooter in the bubble, and everybody was worried. Like a lot of the guys that we saw in the bubble, maybe part of that was because everybody shot better in the bubble. Right now, he
Absolutely.
continued it on, but you're right. Before the bubble, he was not a very good shooter.
Yeah. I mean, so whenever he was brought into Boston, now that he's been this kind of like catch and shoot maestro with the Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown kickouts, everyone kind of thrived on that. Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser. I mean, these guys got their contracts on the backs of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Obviously, that's how role players work. But now that they've been thrust into a role where they're all playing probably a rung or two above where they would probably be more comfortable and where they've been the last couple of years, we've said this multiple times. Just because a player can do X amount of damage in X amount of minutes, and then you just think, well, what if we just scale that up? We go from 20
Yeah,
minutes to 30 minutes. His point should go from 15 to 20, right? No, that's not how that works.
yeah.
There's a depreciating value to kind of adding this increased role to these guys. More minutes equals more exhaustion, more defensive reps where they're being asked to do so much more.
Also, what rotations are you playing against now? Are you playing against starters more often? What are the defenses doing to adapt to you? And like you said, I mean, the biggest thing with Derek White is Derek White should never be the second best player on the team. He's
No,
phenomenal as your third best player. I talked about it in the top 100 as well. He's the ultimate additive filament guy, but he is not the guy that you want to construct stuff around. And that's kind of what we're seeing as part of the problem here.
absolutely. Being that guy got him on the Olympic team. I
Yeah,
mean, let's talk
because you
about
have to
that.
have those guys.
You
Yeah,
have to
that's
have
one of the things
those
they
guys,
figured
and
out when
that's
they
what Boston won
recalibrated.
a title. Yeah, with guys like
All right,
that. I think I'm the last one on my disappointment. We probably run a little long on this segment, but it's fine. I like it. Jimmy Butler and just basically the entire Golden State Warriors.
we'll stick with
Veteran.
Jimmy for now.
Yeah, about to say just basically every veteran who's not Steph.
Yeah.
It's just been, they had this great performance in San Antonio last night. I know that it's a weird time to be kind of
It's
going out.
not though, because Steph had 46 and went nuclear in the third quarter.
Yeah,
Like,
the whole thing, like their entire basis for their identity is like, is Steph a supernova? If he
yeah,
is, we can win. If he's not, the rest of us don't really do anything. And again, if you look at the raw numbers, it's not that much different from what he was doing last year when he was traded to Golden State. He's still only putting up like 11 shots a game, getting 19 points, getting to the free throw line. Defensively, he has absolutely lost a step. Draymond's lost a step, and they're being more foul heavy now because these guys are getting by them with a little bit more ease. And Jimmy Butler, whenever Steph's been out, he doesn't increase his productivity to match the moment. And this has been a recurring theme with Jimmy
I mean,
Butler for years. And we've been letting it slide because he performs well in the playoffs. but his regular seasons have been pretty mediocre
They've
for a
been
guy
good, but not
whose reputation
mediocre for him. They've been
for his
good, but they haven't been
reputation.
great. And more importantly, look, Jimmy had a great game against the Spurs, and obviously the Warriors were pissed off and wanted to make a point in that game, and that's fine. But you can't
Well,
do this.
they basically took the night off after getting their ass beat by Oklahoma City.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the other thing, right? On a night of back to back, you get to play everybody because in the first game, you got to rest everybody. But going into that game, Jimmy's prior 4 games, he was averaging under 13 points per game, and he was taking 8.3 field goal attempts.
And that's what Steph out.
Yeah.
I mean,
you can't. Jimmy can't be that differential, and it's almost a thing where it feels like some of the time it's just a game with him. It's like he wants to kind of prove that he's more needed. I don't know how to explain it, but it's so weird to watch him be so passive in the moments where they need him the most. Does that make sense?
yeah,
I
well,
don't
like he kind of wants someone to come and ask him to be the superstar instead
yeah,
of just taking the role on.
I know, yeah, and obviously, I'm interjecting my own kind of opinions on him there, but I am still confused by it. Like, why aren't you taking 25 shots if Steph isn't out there? That is
What is
part of
holding
what
you
you're
back from
there
doing
for.
that?
Yeah, it's just a
I mean,
weird
you
thing.
want to be Robin, right?
Yeah.
That's what he said. I want to be Robin. Well, when Batman gets captured,
when the Joker had Batman, Robin went to work.
Yes, it was like time for him to kick somebody's ass. It wasn't time for him.
Go be Nightwing. Let's see you do some
Yes,
real
what are you
damage.
doing? Yeah, and then then him and Draymond take their time out in their post game press conference to shit on Kuminga and Pajemski, and whether or not that's justifiable. And the things that Pajemski said were very stupid, and I don't really understand what he was trying to do there. I mean, whatever.
Are you talking about the comments about he wanted to be better than Steph, or
right? Yeah, and apparently that's carried over. Apparently that's
who cares about somebody saying trying to get
Draymond Green does.
All of these, and we're going to talk about the Warriors more. So let's finish this segment, then we'll get back into it because I have some stuff that I would just want to talk about with that entire thing. But to put a button on it for now, since when has players being overly confident been a point of contention in the NBA? All of these guys, and again, I'm going to talk about it more, but Draymond Green at the very top has been an overly ambitious person in terms of how he views himself and everything in his entire career. It's the foundation of his success and also all his failures. Why is that a problem? It's dumb.
Well, let's do it now because they're one of my down teams, and then we can transition to 3 up, 3 down. So let's just move into it. If you're okay,
I want to finish this segment because I want to finish with my last surprise.
I'm good with talking about Jimmy Butler being disappointment.
Oh yeah, what's that?
I'm good with Jimmy Butler's been a bit of a disappointment. I think he needs to shoot more. It's a lot of that for me, but. We're already talking about the Warriors, and I was going to bring them up anyway, and then also segue to you. But
I don't want to short shrift my last guy because to me he's the most important surprise to talk about. Not enough people have been talking about him.
No,
so I'm going to go into
this one last thing, and then I'll cede it to you. Then,
yeah.
We've already seen what happens when a guy thinks too highly of himself in and Golden State, and what happens to that player once that happens. He gets punched in the face and traded to Washington. So apparently they've already been through this before with Jordan Poole, who actually was a key and integral piece to winning a championship. I don't care what anybody says about the current iteration of him. That Warriors team in 22 needed that version of Jordan Poole. I don't care if he's not been living up to expectations since. He's an NBA champion, and he was an integral part of what they were doing. This is kind of feeling a lot like that. They got this guy with a massive ego or a massive, at least super inflated sense of self. And they were like, hey, let's rein it in. Realize who you are and where you are and what players you're around. And that's kind of what these veterans are doing to the team. They've killed the confidence of these younger guys. They've been doing it for years. Because they were like, well, we just need someone to fit in and do Warriors things. And they don't know how to do that when they first get to Golden State, but they get shit on whenever they don't do it properly by Steve Kerr, by Draymond, probably tangentially by Steph. I mean, as much as they love Buddy Hield now, they can claim it's all fucking lovey-dovey. I remember last year watching Steph Curry damn near try and break a chair and a clipboard in half after Buddy Hield missed another pass after he took another ill-advised shot. It took him, an NBA veteran, time to learn how to play within the Warrior system. He's much better at it now. They like him a lot, which is great. But these are young dudes, and they're killing their confidence because they're like, play our way or you won't play at all. It's fucking them up. I'm just putting it out there. They're doing it. They're killing their role players and then wondering why their championship window is closing. Those three, even without Horford, can't carry it. They need those other guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, one last one for you, my friend. Go for it.
Yeah. So because I want to give this guy his flowers because he deserves them. Nickeil Alexander-Walker in Atlanta. We talked about before the season that this was going to be a make or break season for Trae Young, and this injury may break Trae Young's time in Atlanta. The Hawks are 6-2 since the game that Young got hurt. That's including that game. Nickeil Alexander-Walker on the season is averaging 17.2 points per game and only shooting 43.9% from the field. That's kind of typical for him. Like, he's never been a great percentage guy. The number from a points per game is really impressive. But what's been more impressive is since Young has been out, the full games that he's missed, the Hawks are 5-2. Walker's averaging 18.2 points per game, and he's shooting almost 48% from the field. He's second on the team in points per game and third in minutes during that stretch. Jalen Johnson is the only other player on the Hawks, and maybe Onyeka Okongwu, who we both love, that can even claim to be as responsible for what's happening right now as this guy who was thought to just be a really high-level additional role player who stepped up and is now looking like a legitimate starting player and a starting impact player in the league this season. And good for him, and it's going to make Trae Young's situation where that contract is concerned real interesting how Atlanta's playing right now without him.
Again, this is why you take the long view on these things and you don't have to just hand extensions out like they're free candy. Yeah. And I had this thought, I've had this conversation multiple times when Trae Young went out. I was like, watch this Atlanta team finally start to figure it out. By the way, they just dropped 76 points and it's not even halftime in Utah. They're up 12 on the Jazz. I think did they play last night? They might have. I can't remember.
They won last night against.
Yeah, they won. So they're on a second night of a back-to-back, a road back-to-back.
Yeah, Jalen Johnson had a huge game last night. He went 9-10 from the field and had like 25, 10, and 8.
That was like 12 games last night. I was
that's fair.
But yeah. So they also just about dropped 80 points in the first half against the Jazz on a back-to-back. This Atlanta team is playing so much above their station because they're not relying on Trae Young to, kind of orchestrate the offense. And to Trae's credit, which we've given it to him multiple times, he's been playing off ball more in Quinn Snyder's system. But he's just not, with all his scoring and all his passing, he ends up to me always feeling like a net neutral, slightly positive player overall. And now you have these guys that are like competing defensively. They're bigger. They play.
And your defense gets to be Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Dyson Daniels. If you're the opposing guards and that's what you have to contend with, Jesus Christ, that is 30 minutes of hell when those two guys are the ones that are bringing the ball up and down. Yeah.
Crazy. So yeah, no, I could not agree more with you. This is a bad look for Trae Young and his contract negotiations going into next season. So big shout out to Nickeil Alexander-Walker. He's been very good. 17 a game. It's not nothing. I mean,
he's not being talked about enough in the MIP conversations, but he has as good of a case as anybody when you consider where he started to where he is just over and what expectation was too. Like a lot of the other guys, I think in that conversation, another guy who we're not going to bring up here because we've talked about a lot, Ryan Rollins and Nickeil Alexander-Walker are probably the two biggest surprises, I think, just from where we thought they were going to be to where they are now versus some other guys where it's like, I expected the scale that happened. And maybe that's just my own thing. But, Denny being obviously one of them.
I think he kind of walked into this because he got a little bit of an overpay, I think, from Atlanta. So people were like, ugh. And
what, he got $18 million a year, I think? Yeah.
I thought it was 20, but I might be wrong.
You might be right. Yeah. Whatever it was, but yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it
You're
was
right.
like
It was 3 for 60, if I
3 for
remember
60.
correctly. You're
Which,
right.
like I
Yeah.
said, I think it's a slight overpay, but I was
Yeah.
like, he's a good player. I didn't hate the deal when it happened. Now I'm loving it. Because,
Yeah.
but I
I mean,
think that's what he walked in with like this overbearing expectation. Because they're like, well, if you're a $20 million a year player, this is the expectation for a player like that. So, but yeah, he surpassed all the expectations I think anybody in Atlanta had for him,
yeah.
especially considering that he's stepping into this very pivotal role while Trae Young is injured. So, doesn't, hey, we gave Jared his credit earlier about calling out Alex Sarr. Well, he's always been a Trae Young guy, and that that take not looking so hot, JL. So take that,
We've
Mr.
had a few
Sports
fights about
Illustrated.
Trae Young over the time, but we all got our guys.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was our surprises and disappointments for the season. We're going to move very quickly into 3 up, 3 down. I cede this again to my co-host Aaron. Aaron, you can start us off in any way you like. Who are your 3 up, 3 down? Where do you want to go with it?
Well, I'll pick an up. And this is me also. Let me. I don't do a. I'll eat the proverbial crow. I was trying to look for a prop or something, but to start with
You
up.
had a crow around. I'd be very concerned.
I mean, I don't know if you've seen my house, but that's not without possibility, especially in my office, which
I've
is
only
just
ever
like,
seen your office.
yeah.
I've only ever seen your Aces championship banners. But please,
Speaking of,
hey,
anyway, so the 76ers, we have to talk about what the 76ers look like. And what's funny is the 76ers feel like they're playing so much faster. And my question in the summer when we talked about them was, were they going to be able to play fast enough to weaponize all these guards? And the answer is yes, but it's also no, which has
yes,
been weird. So their transition opportunities are only up 2% per game. Their pace is almost the exact same as last year, but they look so much faster. And I couldn't figure it out. And I decided I don't really care. I know what I'm seeing. And it's very obvious that the Sixers are using all these guards and these athletes to really get out and run. It's been really impressive. And Jared McCain's going to add to that. And I think part of why the numbers don't look the same is because Joel Embiid is playing more and they have to play slow when he's on the floor. So then I started to look at some of their lineup stuff, and I think that bears itself out. 3 of their top 4 scoring lineups are without Embiid on the floor. And their most impressive lineup in 31 possessions, Tyrese Maxey, BJ Edgecombe, Kelly Oubre, Justin Edwards, who I've always been a big fan of, and Andre Drummond are averaging 161.3 points per 100 possessions. I think that's pretty good. And it's because they can get up and down with all those guys in that situation. You've got Edwards playing or Oubre playing the 4 in that situation. Drummond still moves fairly well. I mean, he doesn't, but he does. Like he can go north-south pretty well. But it's just, look, I didn't expect this from Philadelphia. I still think that injuries and other return to the mean things are going to happen, but they have been a much more enjoyable offensive product to watch. And a lot of it is founded on Tyrese Maxey. I want to talk about him at a later date because I don't want to give him just kind of a quick pass through because there's stuff he's doing now that is so high level, that is so impressive for him. But more importantly, just the way the Sixers are using all that speed in that guard play, I just wanted to acknowledge it's worth it. And they're fun. They're a fun team to watch.
They are. I watched that Celtics Sixers game the other night. That was on NBC. And Justin Edwards, with his team down 8, splashed 3 consecutive threes on 3 consecutive possessions, and just brought his team back into a game that they had kind of ceded the lead. I think they had a 16-point deficit in the third quarter. And so they were down. They had gotten down as many as 11. I think they were down 9 or 8 whenever they started this frantic comeback. The only thing I'm surprised that Andre Drummond was in the lineup that you were talking about because Drummond, whenever I watched him, if he's not getting rebounds, I don't know why he's out there and he's not getting rebounds. But it's because they don't have another center. It's because Embiid doesn't play.
His rebound rate is still elite, in fairness.
It wasn't in that game against a Celtics team that does not rebound well. Like, if Kata's not on the floor, no one's getting rebounds on the Celtics. And he was mistiming every jump. He couldn't get another offensive board. The person who actually pulled their ass out of the fire on the Maxey or Justin Edwards miss that actually ended up being the game winner was Kelly Oubre, who just happened to position himself on the block and got himself a nice putback to seal the game for the Sixers. But yeah, man, they've been super fun. And I didn't expect Edgecombe to be this good this fast. I expected
Been a
Grind
little bit of a return to mean as teams have figured out how to fend him some, but
a little
still.
bit, but he still
Also,
does. The block he had on Jaylen Brown at the
yeah,
rim
that
was
was nasty.
otherworldly.
Yeah, yeah. His competitive
That's
level's
what he
high.
brings. And we've talked about this multiple times about guys that we love. And it's like, whenever your shot's not falling, what do you do?
To
DJ
affect the game
Edgecombe is
otherwise.
one of those kind of guys that is a defensive monster. So even if he's, like you said, reverting back to kind of the, rookie foibles that are going to happen throughout the year, he is an impactful player on the defensive side of the ball because he is already a wrecker on some of these. Like, he's a big body who has great hands, great physicality, and his timing is impeccable. I expected the Maxey stuff. Quentin Grimes, he showed us a lot toward the end of the year last year. And I think, whenever we were doing our preview and we were arguing about the Sixers, the only thing I said was they don't have a choice but to try and be good. And they just, maybe right now they're playing a little bit above where their actual end result will probably be by the end of the year.
Real quick, and then we can duck out of them. Their wins are against Boston, Charlotte, Orlando when they were bad, Brooklyn, Toronto, and Boston.
Yeah. Again, we did the same thing with the Spurs. We did the same thing with the Warriors whenever they were beaten up on bad teams and we kind of overhyped them. We do this all the time in the preseason, which is why you and I usually try and not, overreact before there's 15 to 20 games on the books. And then you can really start taking a look at things. But yeah, hey, actually, nice little segue from you for me, because I would actually like to talk about those Orlando Magic. We've been doing that a lot on this podcast. But they've been 5-1 in their last 6, including last night, whenever they were at New York. I know New York was on a back-to-back, but they didn't have Paolo Banchero for the majority of that game. And they, when they had built a 15 to 20 point lead in the second quarter, Paolo Banchero goes out with a left groin strain. I don't think the Knicks ever got it closer than 11. They found a way. Desmond Bane was putting pressure on the rim that he has not done all year. He was fantastic at getting into the paint, driving. They've been getting great contributions from guys like Tristan da Silva, who I've already mentioned. Anthony Black splashed a couple of corner threes. Franz Wagner, even while wearing the mask with his busted nose. Strangely, he was taking it off while he was taking free throws, but then he would shoot with it during the game. It was very weird because I was like, can he see or not? Apparently he could. But yeah, they just, they put a little bit of a smack on a good New York team. I'm not going to overreact to that, but again, 5-1 in their last 6 after a 1-5 start, I think. So getting back to the, just being an average team and starting to look a little bit better. So Orlando Magic.
And that Desmond Bane game winner may end up looking like kind of an inflection point on their season and kind of the period where maybe they springboard forward, because he's had 22 in 3 of his last 4 games and looked much more comfortable and kind of more like the guy we expected there.
And all right. Also, can we talk about the song, the Orlando Magic song? Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the one they've had forever.
Yes, the one they've had forever. But like, the way that their social media team is using it.
Oh, that's been for a couple years now. They've been
but it's been like, okay, maybe I just wasn't aware of it.
Yeah, I covered them partially last year for one of the stats things that I was doing, so I had a different relationship with them.
This makes me want
yeah,
it makes me want them to win.
And it makes you want more teams to have an anthem, but the problem is they're not all going to sound like that.
Well, you can't recreate the '90s, baby. That's whenever these things were just hot.
Yeah.
Anyway, you're up.
All right, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do my down because I want to go back to the Warriors real quick because yes, the Warriors did just come off a victory from the Spurs where Draymond did a great job with Victor, even though he had a triple-double. The defense looked good. Steph played phenomenal. But this is also the same team that's 3-5 over their last 8 games with an average margin of defeat that has been 14 points per game during that stretch, including getting smoked by Denver by 25 and OKC by 24, which if Golden State is the team we think they're supposed to be, those are the teams they have to play competitively, not to mention those are the teams, particularly the Thunder, that we were told they were tough matchups for. But what I really want to get into here, because I'm going to cook for a minute, is I want to go back to some of what you were talking about with the Draymond Green thing. And I really want to talk about it within the context of his whole feud with Kevin O'Connor, right? For those that aren't familiar, I'll link to the little back and forth. You're welcome to see it on threads between KOC and Draymond. But KOC came out and had made some comments about exactly what you said, what was happening with the veterans in that situation and what it was looking like in terms of stifling the team and problems with it. And Draymond Green came back, and his clapback against Kevin O'Connor was about the Killian Hayes thing. And for those that aren't aware, in the 2021 draft, Kevin O'Connor famously had Killian Hayes as number one. In the moment, it was a record scratch for me. I will admit, in that moment, it invalidated some of his opinions in terms of draft stuff. Now, couple things. One, for those that don't remember, that was the year where nobody was allowed to see these guys live. So everybody was doing everything on video. And so a lot of draft boards were really messed up. So it's not like Kevin O'Connor was just some isolated guy. Go back and look at that draft and see who was picked where. That's the Wiseman draft. Like, that was a messed up, weird, funky draft in the first place. And more importantly, Kevin O'Connor has owned that moment and fessed up and admitted that he made a mistake. We're all putting a lot of information out there. We're not all going to get them right. And so for Draymond to use that as a point of a data point to invalidate Kevin O'Connor's entire opinion about basketball. One, I've said one before, but anyways, I'm so sick and tired of this conversation that just because you played the game of basketball, that makes you the most knowledgeable person about the game of basketball. That's bullshit. It's bullshit on so many levels. Now, I've been fortunate enough to be around the game of basketball my entire life. I've been around coaches who are extremely successful, who I was surprised with how little they knew about the game. I've been around players that have been phenomenal NBA talent athletes who didn't understand the basic principles of effing basketball because they were very, very talented players and were put in the right situations there. One thing does not equal the other, and viewing the game of basketball is a very holistic experience. So Draymond using that as a way to invalidate Kevin O'Connor is such bullshit. And I'm so tired of this posturing from all these players who have these platforms on their podcast using that. Stop doing that because it's not fair and it's not true. There's coaches out there that understand the game significantly better and have never played the game. There's writers, and I'm going to use Kevin O'Connor as an example, who devoted their life to understanding the game, and it doesn't allow you to invalidate their position either. But more importantly, if that's what you want to do, Draymond, if you want to use the one opportunity, or at least one of several times, I'm sure KOC's gotten something wrong, to invalidate everything, and he was talking about team building and team cohesion. Let's talk about all the missteps that you've had. Does that mean we now get to invalidate you as a basketball player because you cost your team a title, making the biggest mistake in the biggest moment that all of us got to catch, getting suspended? Or let's talk about the Jordan Poole incident, where your entire season was basically lampooned before it started because you got jealous and punched a teammate, right? Like, you've made mistakes in this space. You're still a basketball genius. You're still a phenomenal, incredibly talented basketball player. That doesn't invalidate you, nor should Kevin O'Connor getting something wrong invalidate him. We need to stop this. Everybody gets to have a voice in the space if they spend the time to educate themselves properly and really spend the effort and devotion to learning this game and talking about this game and being passionate about it. And I'm sick and tired of people treating people that haven't played the sport at the highest level as though all of a sudden their opinion doesn't matter just because they haven't dribbled the basketball. That is one of many perspectives, and it is incredibly important. I have a great amount of respect for anybody who's made it to the NBA if you've played 1 second, but that does not mean that you know the game of basketball better than everybody who else. That's just not the truth. That's not how that works. And I'm done.
That's how you cook, ladies and gentlemen. That was really well done. Could not agree with you anymore. You and I were talking about, their interaction on threads the other day. I didn't think that Kevin O'Connor, anything he said was wrong about the way the Warriors were playing. They come out the next night, Steph goes crazy, they win a game, and now apparently that's supposed to invalidate the ass whooping that they got the night before. That's supposed to make the conversation change. I'm like, no, there's still the same issues still exist with the Warriors. They go as far as Steph Curry will take them. And even when they traded for another superstar and they have Draymond and they have Al Horford and all these other guys, it's still Steph who's doing everything for this team, and he will take them as far as he can go. And if he ever gets injured, this team is dead in the water. All of these are facts. Nothing he said necessitated Draymond coming at him the way that he did.
Absolutely
He
not.
just
It
got
felt
in
very.
his feelings about it, and he does
It
this all
felt
the time.
it felt exceptionally juvenile. And I'm
He
not
was.
here to act like, look, if players want to defend themselves, the Draymonds and the Kevin Durant's of the world, that is 100% their right. I'm not saying that they shouldn't, but I am saying that this thing that's this patronizing BS that keeps happening now, where it's like just because you've reached this level from this standpoint, it's the only way that basketball gets to be viewed. Look, there are players right now who are exceptionally talented and successful players who talk about the game of basketball as though they've never played it. Like, so just don't do that. And look, Draymond, I respect his mind. He is a basketball supercomputer. I respect the hell out of how he got to where he is professionally. Like, what he was able to do with figuring out his physical gifts and his tools and the way he reads all those things, those are all par excellence. But the rest of this is part of the problem. And for you to use an example of somebody not getting something right as the way to all of a sudden just poke holes in any argument they have. Like, dude, you have made the biggest mistakes as a teammate we have seen for decades. So you having that so does that just mean you're a terrible teammate and a terrible NBA player because you've screwed up that big? No, of course not. Like, come on. Like, we need to evolve past this part of this conversation. And it's been really thick and heavy for a few months now. I obviously had said this on Threads a couple months ago, but after this, I just needed to kind of get that off. And I apologize for waiting. I just didn't want to hijack the last segment with it because I wanted to kind of vent for a minute on it because I'm just tired of it.
It's annoying to me that every Warriors fan is still a Draymond apologist.
There's some that are not. I will say that. Like, they understand it, but it's kind of
they
that
are getting hurt in the space.
Yeah, the problem is the necessary evil that he's viewed as. That's the issue.
Well, and that's bullshit. After a certain point, you need to kind of like start reckoning with who you're championing. Excuse me.
But it is complicated. Look, they've got 4 titles with him being the best defense player and one of the best ones. And so I can understand that other side of it, and I can understand those other parts of the argument. I'm with you in terms of like, we need to frame properly who and what Draymond has been over the course of his career, and it's been a very complicated and often unnecessarily tumultuous. Like, the chip on the shoulder thing,
that you need to be an asshole to be a good defensive player.
Well, you beat me to it. I was getting ready to say the chip on the shoulder thing and being mad at people. Like, I understand that as a motivational device when you're on the floor. Just scattershotting that with everybody at all times when you don't agree with them, that just kind of makes you a jerk. You know, and I'm not saying Draymond Green is a jerk in general. I don't know Draymond Green. That is not my right. But I think within these spaces, he has acted like one.
Sure.
Yeah. At times. Again, I don't want to I don't want to paint in broad strokes. It's not fair for me to do because then I'm doing the same thing that I would be upset about. I'm just saying within the context of this stuff, like, come on, dude. Like, just be better. And like, Kevin O'Connor, like you said, he didn't say anything that was unfair. He said it based upon reporting that he had read and other stuff. It wasn't even like he was just – there are so many journalists out there that you can call out for those things and in those spaces in the right time. And this was not an example of that. You just disagreed with him and threw a fit.
Yeah, and which is very much a Draymond classic thing to do. So for my down team, I want to talk about the Los Angeles Clippers.
They way down. That ship is sunk.
I mean, I know a couple of Clippers fans. I can't believe that I do. I know a couple of Clippers fans, and I've seen them through some of the worst seasons, that have existed in the NBA. They are so out on this team. They are 3-8. They have lost 6 in a row. Kawhi Leonard is hurt again. They look old. They look dysfunctional. Bradley Beal, season-ending hip surgery. Not like he was very good when he was playing.
Yeah. That is one of those ones where I think they were like, well, this is a problem that solved itself.
Yeah. Well, the only other the problem is he has a player option for next year, not a team option. So,
yeah, but they're not paying him much in fairness. Like,
I understand that, but it's like he's still there. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, right. Like, you still got to pay him to be around.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's still going to be there.
Has any player ever been bought out while also on a buyout contract?
if anybody could do it, it's
Yeah,
Brad.
yeah,
I
right.
really believe in you, Brad. Um,
Oh,
every addition that they've made outside of John Collins has not been fun.
yeah.
Chris Paul looks old as shit. Brooke Lopez looks old as shit. Uh, I like I like Collins in the role that he's in. If you ask him to do more than what he was doing in Utah and Atlanta, I think you're going to get a very unpleasant surprise. But I think he's going to be forced into that role just based on the injuries and how things are going for them. They like the things that John Collins is good at, being a hyper athletic guy who can get out and run a little bit, do a little slight rim running as a tweener forward, shoot a couple of corner threes. None of that works whenever you have I think they are dead last in pace in the NBA this season. They are so slow. They don't move the ball. Harden, is 35. It's not like any of this is surprising. We haven't seen it coming, but it's
36.
bad. He's
Yeah.
36.
Yeah.
I'm 37, man, and everything hurts. And I haven't been a professional basketball player my entire life.
We knew that they were the oldest team in the NBA, and you and I were both excited about what this
I
roster
thought they
was
were.
going to be potentially.
Yeah,
I thought they were going to have enough of a combination, but they got like this is one of those things I think where if you surround yourself with younger people, maybe you feel a little bit more youthful. And if you surround yourself with older people, maybe you start feeling a little bit older. And like this whole group looked around in the retirement center and decided that they no longer wanted to go out and do water aerobics. They'd rather just sit around and play bingo because it is old, boring, slow, and lethargic. That is just Nicola Batum looks bad now. It's like all of these guys fell off a cliff together. Like I don't know if they had a suicide pact, but all of these careers just kind of fell off that age cliff all at once.
yeah, yeah. And I was correct. They are dead last in pace
Yeah,
behind
yeah,
the Boston Celtics. Yeah, I just wanted to confirm that I wasn't making that up, but it's very obvious when you watch them play, and
yeah.
they just last night was a real low point for a season. I mean, after they lost Brad Beal, Ty Lue comes out with this strategy. He's like, "Yeah, we're gonna make Jokic a scorer." He scored 55 points.
He outscored their entire starting lineup.
He destroyed them,
Yeah.
and he was
One
like,
man
"Well,
scored more than 5 men.
5 men. Jokic is worth 5 Clippers."
Yeah, yes.
And here's the ultimate low point. With all the aspiration, the Kawhi Leonard, the Steve Ballmer, the Ty Lue gambling implications, the team being bad, all of these things, and then it's come to this: the team that is most likely to land Anthony Davis, the Los Angeles Clippers, for a likely. I heard this I've heard this in the rounds. I heard it on the Zach Lowe show for like a poo poo platter of like Derek Jones, Brooke Lopez, like I can't remember the contract they had to make the money work, but
Yeah.
it's bad, man.
Yeah.
It's not
But
a trade. It's not a trade that Dallas would be excited about, and it's not a trade that like the Clippers should be excited about. But it's the only thing they can do because guess who owns their first round pick next year? The
the
Oklahoma
Thunder.
City Thunder.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right now, it would be the 7th pick in the draft lottery. If the Clippers get worse, that pick could really skyrocket in a draft that people are claiming that is pretty deep, a pretty good draft. So they don't own that pick. It's unprotected.
Yeah, it's not the depth of this draft. It's the top 10 guys that are going to be really big. So getting into that lottery is going to be the thing for this draft, but we'll have conversations about that another day. More importantly, can you imagine having to hitch your wagon to a team that's led by Kawhi Leonard and Anthony Davis for an
And
entire
James
season?
Harden?
No, but Harden at least plays. I mean, those other
Yeah,
two guys,
fair
like,
enough.
Jesus Christ, I could not handle having you're spending every single day scrutinizing the injured list to hope that you're going to get
Ty
one of those
Lue.
guys, and for a playoff run that's pointless. Yeah, it's
Ty Lue's going to be betting the under. I'll tell you that.
we said Memphis as the season from hell team, but when you take into account the Ty Lue being embroiled in the gambling thing, the Aspire stuff, and what's happening on the floor, I recant my prior statement. The
Yeah.
Clippers are the team going through the season from hell, and they did
They
this to
had
themselves.
much higher expectations
Yeah,
than the Memphis Grizzlies. I mean, people saw them at least in a 5-6, like as
yeah,
a legitimate playoff team. That opens the door for San Antonio to be,
yeah.
out of the plan because the Clippers don't look like they have any way of turning this around. Ugh,
Uh, before we do our last team, Aaron Nesmith, I'm pretty sure just suffered what looks like a really terrible injury, and the
oh no.
Indiana Pacers, his foot got stuck on a teammate's and it dragged his leg out, and it looks bad. And I hope for Nesmith that it's not, but what is going on with lower extremities in that state? Like, Jesus.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
I'm not saying Indiana's over here like, what the fuck? We're not having the season from hell?
yeah, seriously.
And it's like somehow there's teams worse than us. We can't stay healthy at all.
Well, and it's the game that they just got TJ McConnell back. Like, you
Oh
want to
my
talk about a team
God.
that can't have nice things? Like, God damn. Okay. My last up team, and we'll go to this real quick, but I do want to bring them up because it's the team that's playing the Pacers right now. Shout out the 7-5 Phoenix Suns.
Yep.
Maybe Matt Ishbia is correct. 113.6 defensive rating. That's up from 117.7 last year. That's a great improvement. Grayson
Mhm.
Allen averaging 19 points on 45% from the field, including 42 on 10 threes, going nuts. Now, I'm going to poke a hole in it real quick. The teams they've beaten so far are Sacramento, Utah, San Antonio, the Clippers twice, New Orleans, and Dallas. So I respect the
As
hell out
long
of
as
what the
their
Suns are doing.
schedule, as long as their schedule stays that easy, they're fine.
Yeah. If we play the bottom third of the league for the whole year, like they have to set this up like a very strategic, like college football team, hoping to
Yeah.
have a 12-0 record, right? Like we just want to.
You can't play Army every game, guys.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. I thought it was weird that they had Citadel on their schedule in December, but I was
who
wondering
got
how
the
they.
Washington Generals? Not the Wizards. They
Yeah,
got the Generals on their schedule. Amazing.
but because of all the crap we gave them and because of
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
difficult a lot of that situation has been, they needed to be given credit. Shout out to our girl Suns fanatic as well, who's I know a listener. She's at the game right now and she's been really enjoying the season. I don't think
You
this
want to
is
talk about Devin
sustainable.
Booker and how great he's been as like a playmaker?
You and I touched on it
A
last
little
pod,
bit.
so we really don't have to. We kind of already talked about it.
Um, is my last one supposed to be an up or a down? I forget.
You can do whatever the hell you want, sir. We're landing this
Well,
plane.
if it's an up, it's Oklahoma City, and if it's a down, it's anyone who's playing Oklahoma City because oh my God, like they, the Thunder had a pretty soft schedule to start the year as well. A lot of I went through it the same way when people were talking about their hot start. I was like, well, they haven't played anybody. They played the Hawks when they weren't doing too hot. They beat up on the Mavericks. They beat the Pelicans. They beat the Kings. They beat the Clippers. They have they had a loss. It's not a bad loss, but they lost on a road back-to-back to Portland. Very feisty, good defensive team. So when the Warriors and the Lakers were coming to town for a home back-to-back for the Thunder, that was supposed to be the litmus test of like, okay, they're actually playing some legitimate Western Conference teams. They beat the brakes off of both of them by a combined like 60 points.
If that was the measuring stick, they literally went full none and beat the crap out of both of those teams with it and then just walked off.
Yeah. I mean, Shea has played in 12 games this year. He has played in the fourth quarter 5 times. Shout out to Bone Storm for on Threads for giving us that little nugget of
And
information.
he's still second in the league in scoring despite
Still
that.
second in the league. He somehow finds his way to 30 points, but his assist numbers have been insanely high without Jalen Williams being another creator. He's been a great passer for his team. He's had 12 assists twice this year. He's had 9 assists multiple times, which he's been pretty consistently like a 32 5-5 6-6 kind of guy the last couple of years. The numbers have been great, but yeah, like their defensive rating, I mean, their overall net rating, I think they're up to like 18. Like, they set the record last year at like 12.
What's crazy, you already mentioned it, but guys, and this is the Thunder. This is who they are. We knew they were super deep. Guys have been so in and out of the lineup all year. There's been
Yeah.
no real consistency with a lot of a lot of their key rotation players. clearly, I mean, Chet being hurt on top of Jalen Williams hasn't played yet. On top of Caruso's been hurt. Aaron Wiggins has missed some time. Casey Wallace had that little nagging thing.
Lou Dort.
And they haven't played their lottery picks from the last two drafts.
Yeah.
Or, excuse me, Sorber was right outside of the lottery because I think he was taken 15th, right?
15th, yeah. But then, Topic, that was supposed to be their backup point guard. Oh, no. He went out with a very serious – I'm sorry. I shouldn't make light of it. I wasn't going to make light, but I was saying, oh, no, as in like he's not there. Oh, we'll just plug in A.J. Mitchell.
A.J. Mitchell, who's playing like SGA light. Yeah. The way he's functioning in space with his handle, you can tell who he was watching over the last year and a half because he really does manipulate the ball in tight space. I think people are getting a little too far with SGA comparisons, but that part is there. Like that little, just the herky-jerky movement. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that was all. It was just, the other thing I was going to say, because we already sort of touched on it, this team has 4 first-round picks in the coming draft.
Yeah. And 2 of them could end up in the lottery. And so we're sitting here and we're like, so AJ Mitchell, by the way, I had a friend who texted our friend group because he lives in Oklahoma City. Shout out Andy Dark. And he is at the games a lot. He texts our group message and says, hey man, I think this AJ Mitchell guy is just not going to be with us very long term. He's going to get real pricey real fast. And I was like, Andy, we already re-signed him for 3 years, $8.7 million.
Yeah.
He's locked up for a couple of years as is. Now,
down 29.
That's a future problem.
Yeah.
But also, can we give a little bit of love to the double bigs? Chet Holmgren's been phenomenal, obviously. He even had a game the other night where he was absolutely perfect. He was
9 for 9 from the field. Yep.
23 points, 9 for 9 from the field, didn't miss a free throw, didn't miss a three. Yep. But Isaiah Hartenstein has been everything the Thunder could have asked for and more. They did pay an exorbitant amount to get him, the $29 million for, I thought it was a high asking price. Man, the things he does for this Thunder team, being able to guard the bigger centers in the league, reasonably well as anybody can guard a guy like Jokic and Zubac and, the guys of that nature. But being able to have that big body, his connectivity as a passer, his finishing at the rim has been so much better this year than it was last year. He's catching lobs at a higher rate than he's ever done, even in New York. They run their offense through him sometimes at the top of the key or at the elbow. They just kind of make him an entry pass and just let him kind of serve and screen and dish and pass. He's just got a really complete game as like the perfect functioning role player, center, starter, hybrid guy.
Yeah.
Like the way that his contract was set up for the Thunder was that he was always like the team option was for his 3rd year.
Yeah.
So that $29 million, that was whenever the J-Dub, Chet, Shea extensions all kick in. And we were all like, well, enjoy him while we got him because, he's probably not going to be on this team long term. I'm finding it very hard to believe that Oklahoma City can let a guy like this just walk away.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think the thing that's been so impressive with him and the entire construction of this roster is these are just a massive accumulation of players who are completely comfortable with whatever's asked of them. You want me to play 30 minutes tonight and be this guy? Absolutely. You want me to play 10 minutes tonight and be this guy? Absolutely. And that full sale buy-in is just so clearly apparent across the board. And they had identified that with Hartenstein, and it was a reflection, we had known this, but it's a reflection of how he came into the league and some of what the core principles for anybody that knows about him of basketball already were for him. But this is just like the tie that binds with all the players that the Thunder identify. And it's back to the genius of Presti. Separate of identifying the talent, it's identifying the proper personalities. And they've done that. This has probably been the most impressive team building I've seen in my lifetime in the NBA when you consider circumstances and everything else to get to this point. Like there's been other rosters
where they are.
What's that?
in their general market and where they are. It's not like they
Yeah. All things included, right? You don't get to just spend freely, and everything that he has
they
done.
got nobody come knocking on their door like, I can't wait to come to Oklahoma City
Now
unless
they
they
do,
built
but that's
unless
because
they
they
built
built
the team
something.
in the first place. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just real quick, Case and Wallace, 4 of 13 for Steph, 7 of 20 for Luka. Like,
I mean, weren't you the one saying Dort needed to be guarding Steph? Because it looked like. By the way, does Casey Wallace have a nickname? Because if he doesn't, it should be the Octopus. Because it feels like that dude has additional limbs out there.
I think people just call him Queso.
Okay,
We're not great at the nickname thing.
I'm
We got to borrow that
petitioning for Octo. Because that dude, whenever I see him, I'm like, where did that hand come from? How did he get that extra? Like, it looks like that guy has 8 appendages.
We need to borrow the nicknaming ability of the Bulls from you guys, because you got Vucci Main, you got AO123, or those trades. AO, I don't know, man. You got some good ones.
That's all Stacey King's work. We know that.
Well, I'm sorry, we got Michael Cage, and he gives you a little dose of the dose. And he gives you a little, making it do what it do. Those are his 2 go-to catchphrases. But yeah, he's no Stacey King, but I love you, Michael Cage, friend of the pod, obviously.
Yeah, and very good at what he does in his own right. So
I love the Cage.
All right.
Do we have any more? Are we done?
No, we're good. We're keeping it. Yeah, we went longer than we were planning to, but that's all right.
Under 2 hours. Everyone can suck it.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. That's a terrible way to try to end this podcast. Aaron, thank you so much again, as always. Really fun conversation with you, talking about all these players and teams. The NBA has been so fun this year. I'm having a great time. Is there anything that you need to plug on the Basketball Intelligence Network or otherwise?
Nothing on the Basketball Intelligence Network, but please make sure you're signed up and subscribe to that. Also, subscribe to the Live Breathe Ball newsletter. I will have something for you in the next couple of days. I'm going to have a new segment that we can probably talk about on the next podcast here. Not anything crazily inventive, but just an opportunity to talk a little bit more about some stuff I'm seeing with some guys. So that should be in the next couple of days. Like I said, just always pay attention to your email. I've been working like crazy, so it's been hard to squeeze stuff in because it's convention season in Las Vegas. I'm not going to go to BravoCon, but there's plenty of people in town, so they've been keeping me busy.
I truly cannot understand that this is a thing. It's insane that BravoCon is a thing. I'm not.
So I work with one of the guys who's actually on Vanderpump Villa, and
you might as well be speaking Greek to me.
I tried watching. I tried watching it. I got about 30 seconds in. I'm with you. Like, BravoCon doesn't hold any allure to me, but you know what? I'm also a psychopath that'll go watch bad high school basketball, and there's a whole segment of people out there that don't understand what the hell I'm doing either. So there's that.
I have one reality show that I have ever loved, and it is The Challenge. The Road Rules Real World Challenge. I've been watching it since I was a kid. I used to watch it with my sister. Used to watch The Real World and The Road Rules when I was a kid.
I mean, I miss it when it was tethered to a reality show that made sense. I lost the thread on that so long ago.
Well, they just started bringing in like people from other reality shows since they don't do The Real World and The Road Rules. So they brought in Big Brother, Are You the One, Love Island. They brought in like all these other people from other shows to kind of like keep the cast, but they still have, Johnny Bananas still there, CT still there.
Yeah.
So, some names that you might recognize, but that's the only reality show that I've ever watched and ever enjoyed.
Who would CT be if he wasn't having road rage on national television annually for 20 years?
Man, I don't know. He's like a 4-time champion, and he also won that show, The Traitors. Apparently, he was on that, and he won that shit too. I don't even know how that works.
And I don't even mean that in a bad way.
Yeah, I'm about to say he's just a real Boston psycho that has now become a Florida psycho. Love you, CT, friend of the pod. I'm just doing this, and I've been threading a lot. Just a quick note to any of these new people who have been following me. I am not a gambling person. I'm just predicting games as best as I can. And apparently a lot of people are coming to me asking me to like predict games for them. I was like, I told a guy on Threads, I was like, don't take this the wrong way. I don't want to be responsible for your gambling losses. If you bet based on what I predict and it's wrong, I don't want to be like you coming at me and being like, go fuck yourself. You just lost me a bunch of money. I don't want that. But I've been I've been pretty decent at guessing the games. I'm at like a 75% clip. So, we'll see what the games look like tonight. The Jazz have come all the way back. I'm close to going 3 for 3, but there's a whole fourth quarter to go with the Jazz and the Hawks. But all the other games, I picked the Raptors over the Cavs. Aren't you proud of me?
I was going to say there's only 3 games, right? So right now you're 1-0 out of the 3 games. So we'll wait.
Hey, who picked the Raptors over the Cavs? Me,
To
baby.
be continued.
Me.
Yeah.
Cavs again on a back-to-back, guys. This is fundamental. Just look at like their schedule. If they're tired, they're probably not going to play well. They were just in Miami. It's tiring to be down there.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you guys so much for everything. Please like, rate, subscribe, do all the things that you do. We appreciate your support on this podcast. We can only do it with you guys actually listening and following along. So thank you for that. And we will end this podcast the way that we always do by saying adios.